Okay, well, let's just start talking. We've been using all these.
Hold on a second.
Okay. Let's see, I took her
So
at her
you took her
word.
at her word. There's another John. That's where he got it.
Okay, mute.
Okay. We've been talking all these technical terms and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, this is your first time film as a director.
Sure.
Okay. So, were you in that same position where, what is that guy saying? What is the term I need to use, etc.?
Well, I use terms like, it'd be nice to be really close on them so that we could see their faces.
Right.
And
Makes sense.
I used common sense because my big joke on the set was I'd walk up to an actress, I'd say, Annabella, we have to go again. She'd say, why? And I go, it's very technical reasons, which I'd explain to you, but I have no understanding of them. Let's just go. It was acknowledged that I was, I didn't keep it a secret from the crew that I was a first-timer.
But isn't this to your advantage, though, really?
They did look out for
You
me.
can get away with some things.
They looked out for me. And actually, every time I deferred to technical advice, I came to regret it later on. Because you know what you want. You know what you want to see. All you have to, well, not all you have to do, but part of it is just what do we want to see on the screen at this moment?
Was there something in the film you could point to that you wanted that maybe knowing in hindsight you shouldn't have gone for, but you did and it worked?
It's a technical thing. There's something, it's kind of boring, though. It's the only, so if you want to launch into
Sure.
it. There's a big thing in movies about crossing the line. If there's two of us in a shot, you have to be careful what angle you shoot the two of us from, because if suddenly it looks like the faces will flip on the screen.
Right.
It's crossing the line, and everyone who's gone to film school knows it. And I'm kind of don't know left from right and a little dyslexic, and it confused me terribly. And there was a shot where apparently I was crossing the line terribly, and everybody was warning me that it was a disaster. And it's the last scene in the movie, and it works very well. And the editor, I asked her, did I do a bad thing? And she said, no, I don't know what they were worried about. And it's the shot where Matthew and Annabella, who are the two leads who never meet in the film, when they finally start to meet, I wanted it to kind of jump around a bit.
Now, you revealed the plot point, so I'll follow it up.
I'm
That's
sorry.
fine. I'm glad you did, because the idea of a love story where the two never meet.
It's not so easy to pull off.
Really? Was that part of the intrigue of this thing, or was it more the New York locations and all of that?
Well, both. I wanted to do, my feeling is most of us stumble through parts of our lives in relationships with the wrong people, in lives that aren't right for us. And you have to go through some sort of process where you figure out, where you wake up. And when the movie begins, my characters are asleep, as I was when I wrote the script. And it's about watching them wake up. And I didn't want to do, I'm very tired of it. I wanted a sweet New York romantic comedy, but I didn't want boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl.
Sunday in New York type.
Yeah, and I thought there was something sweet about there is the right person for you, but every time you're supposed to meet her or him, something screws it up. And when is it going to happen?
And now, speak to audiences in the Midwest, if you would. What is a pied-à-terre? What is rent control, etc.?
Oh, well, rent control, actually, see, a lot of people have a hard time making their rent. In New York, it's just institutionalized. Rents are very high in New York, but there was a time when rents were controlled. So some old leases have incredible, my parents have a 3-bedroom apartment they pay $500 a month for. They have rent control. If they were to move out, the apartment would rent for $2,200 a month.
So it has to remain occupied.
Yes, it has to remain occupied. So many times people, when it's time to move on with their lives, they stuff relatives in, they pretend they're still living there, they illegally sublet, they do whatever they can, because what if you get married, have 3 kids, and the relationship goes belly up? You can always move back to your rent-controlled. Your rent-controlled apartment in New York is, I think, what the family farm is to other people's, a place you could always return to.
Hence this one character's ambition to keep that apartment stocked, like a refrigerator.
Yes,
I guess.
that's Kevin Anderson is about to be married, desperately afraid of marriage. My other characters are in bad relationships, and he's afraid to commit to one. And so he keeps this apartment the way a college boy might keep his high school yearbook at his hand, you know.
And also, I know you enjoy movies like The Apartment and things like that.
Yeah.
This is kind of like The Apartment, but amplified.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a little busier, I guess. But it's an old-fashioned, it's an old-fashioned modern comedy, I think. I skipped the last 20 years of what I call the big stupid genre of American comedy, where cars go over cliffs and planes take after, you know, and Bette Midler and Shelley Long leap over canyons and that kind of thing. I just wanted to do a very sweet intimate little comedy about real people. It's funny, but there's some real moments in it, and that's more something we saw late 50s, early 60s.
Do you think audiences are surprised to learn that many of the movies they see about New York have actually been shot in Toronto?
I think people know. If it looks clean, it wasn't shot in New York. If the walls are even, if there's sunlight pouring through every shot, if it's quiet, it wasn't shot here. And it doesn't, this movie doesn't, everyone who sees the movie keeps saying, God, it really has a New York feel. And we're not outdoors that much in this movie. And for some reason, people register this as a real New York movie.
Warren, finally, time's almost gone. First time out for you, but are other projects brewing? Is this just going to be one now of a bunch of things coming up?
Well, it's weird with Hollywood. Everybody really likes me a lot now and cares about me as a person. And if the movie does well, there'll be a lot of
Then they'll really care about you as a person.
They're sort of saying, I have a lot of things I want to talk to you about after the movie opens. So I guess we'll know better in a month.
Yeah,
you know?
so more movies to come. We'll talk again, I hope.
I hope so. Nice to meet you.
Warren Leight, we're talking about The Night We Never Met. I'm John Tibbetts in New York City for KCTV5. The producer was telling me about a French